Hi everybody, Lucas Welsh here, and the long-awaited reveal of the Harmony H165 all mahogany that I've been restoring for my good friend Doug. And the bridge was basically unglued. There was a massive crack from the shoulder, like just about to the neck block, from the shoulder halfway down the waist. There was big chunks missing. And there was a drop, an old drop here that had been cracked. The pieces were all there and still intact, but it had been dropped, and there's a pretty good crack mark. So we closed up the seam. We spliced in a couple pieces, which you can see there. Spliced in a couple patches to fill that in a little bit. The gap, the crack on the back is pretty invisible. You got to look to see it, and you can't feel it. Re-glued the bridge. The bridge was warped a little bit, so we leveled that up as good as we could. We got that glued back on. The edges had some rash, some road rash, and so we smoothed as much as we could without, losing any of the profile. This guitar underwent a full neck reset. Neck came out, dovetail got finagled, and put back in. Didn't take a lot because there was not much wrong with the dovetail angle, but it was loose in the pocket, which created the neck to pull up like this, which happens. And really what they did is, they just crammed as much glue into these joints as they could. And then, it probably got warm at some point in time, sitting in the trunk of a car maybe, or out in the sun, and that hide glue that they use softened, and the tension on the strings pulled that neck a little bit. So what we did is we got the neck. I shimmed the dovetail a little bit, got it back in. That neck fits tight enough that I could have put strings on it without glue. But we put a little bit of glue anyway, just to hold everything back in place. But I didn't use a lot of glue because with a properly fit dovetail, you don't need a lot of glue. All you're doing is just really holding it from popping apart. Okay, so we did that. Complete fret level and dress, new bone, nut, and saddle. And this is definitely a thinner profile saddle than what your typical acoustic guitar would have. They'd be 1/8 of an inch. This is more like 3/4 30 so we did that. We also installed these wonderful I believe they call them Golden Age tuners. We got these from Stumac, and they dropped right in. They fit right in. They were really nice. We put some structural cleats from the inside. All the bracing in this guitar was 100%. There was no seam separations. The pick guard was not there, so we ordered a pick guard, and from the old outline, I did a carbon paper tracing as much as I could get, which didn't give me a lot. And so then, I looked up some pictures online, and we come as close as what I felt was original to the guitar. And I think it looks pretty good on there. So originally I wanted to set this guitar up with some Silken Steel Martin guitar strings. And I did that, but turns out there is a little issue in the neck yet. And there's just the slightest hump in the neck. And because the Silken Steel guitar strings are so soft, they don't put enough tension on the neck to give it any relief. And it just needed a shade of relief to account for any of the neck anomalies that were in there. And so I wound up going with some D'Addario 12 to 53s. That gave the neck just enough relief that it plays nice and it sounds great, and this guitar sustains forever. Where's my coffee? I should be drinking coffee while this thing rings forever. It's still going. I can still feel it in my hands. Yeah, that mahogany top and body give it such a projection and a clarity. Every note is clean. And I don't know who put the bridge on originally at Harmony. You nailed the intonation. It for a guitar that has no compensation in the saddle. I mean, it's literally you could compensate this maybe a millimeter if you were lucky, but you nailed it. So if you're watching, I doubt you are, but you nailed the intonation. This thing intonates perfectly. So the frets are great. The other thing that we did do is we put a Golden Age strap button on here to keep in with the feel. So this is a relic nickel, same as the tuners, and they literally, the holes in the tuners matched up with the holes that were here. I had to fill some of those holes in because they were too loose. And then the other little touch that we did here is a back button. The one that was on there was plastic and broken, and so we used a rosewood button to cap this all off. And the guitar, this is a really nice playing guitar. Aside from the fact that the neck is a little bit beefy, which is, typical of that era guitar, and I think they had to do that especially because of the poplar neck. I think they had to leave a little more beef. Steel reinforced neck. These necks are typically pretty bomb-proof. Guitar would really suit a nice finger style. We got about, I would consider this a medium action on this guitar. And the reason I went with more of a medium action is just because I wanted to keep the projection, and I was scared a little bit to go too low with the action on this one. So, but this one's going to bring back some great memories. This was a childhood guitar, first guitar this customer ever owned, and it's been in the family ever since. It's had a little bit of a wild ride, but I'm really happy to be giving this back. There's a great little I don't know if you can see that little dent. I left that. I was not about to steam that out. There's a story behind that dent, and somebody needs to hear that story. I wish I could hear that story. Same with the cracks. You know what? There's something to be said about making stuff invisible, and I really appreciate when a good luthier can make something disappear. That's fantastic, and I try and get them as good as I possibly can. But there is still something to be said about taking away the story of a guitar. This crack in here, there's a story behind that crack. Same with this one. It got dropped. Where they were at a party or what it was, right? So, you want to, with an old guitar like this and a family heirloom, you don't want to rob it of all the history. You want to maintain the history and make the guitar playable. So this would be what I would call it, like a functional restoration. We did not bring this guitar back to its original brand new condition. We made this guitar as brand new, playable, and left some history intact. So anyway, there you go. If you like what you see, hit the subscribe and the notification bell. Like my page. Check out my Facebook page, Everything Strings or Lucas Welsh Music. My website. And, if you've got an old family heirloom and you're in Western Canada or Saskatchewan and you feel like shipping it out to me for some work, by all means, shoot me a message. Have a good day.